Hello students, today we are going to have revision of the science chapter, our environment. So let's get started. First we start with ecosystem. All organisms such as plants, animals, microorganisms and human beings as well as the physical surroundings interact with each other and maintain a balance in nature. All the interacting organisms in an area together with the non-living constituents of the environment form an ecosystem. So you can see that an ecosystem is made up of biotic as well as abiotic components. Biotic components comprised of living organisms like plants, animals, and microorganisms, whereas the abiotic components are temperature, rainfall, wind, soil, and minerals. If we consider an example of an ecosystem, garden is an ecosystem. There are different plants such as grasses, trees, flower-bearing plants like rose and jasmine. There are animals like frogs, insects, and birds. All these living organisms interact with each other. Their growth, reproduction, and other activities are affected by the abiotic components like air, water, soil, sunlight of ecosystem. Therefore, we can call a garden as an ecosystem. As you can see here in the table, that ecosystem can be classified as natural or artificial, which is man-made. So what are the examples of natural ecosystem? Forests, lakes, ponds, etc. Whereas the examples of man-made ecosystems are gardens, crop fields, aquarium, etc. As we have seen that the ecosystem can be either natural or artificial, depending on the type of ecosystem, we can see that they have different requirements. So here is the question, do we need to clean an aquarium once in a while? So aquariums are artificially built ecosystems. They generally do not contain every aspect of a natural ecosystem. These artificial systems do not contain any form of natural decomposers and cleaners, as in case of the natural ecosystem. As a result, food and waste generated by the organisms living in the aquarium accumulate and contaminate the water in the tank, making it toxic. Hence, they have to be cleaned once in a while. So do we need to clean ponds and lakes as well? Ponds and lakes are natural ecosystems. They have natural decomposers and cleaners embedded as an integral part of them. Decomposers and cleaners clean waste generated by the organisms present. Hence, we do not have to clean ponds and lakes. Next part is the further classification of living organisms that are part of an ecosystem. So they are producers and consumers. Producers, also known as autotrophs. All green plants and certain bacteria can produce food by photosynthesis, in which they make organic compounds like sugar and starch from inorganic substances using the radiant energy of the sun in the presence of chlorophyll. They are called the producers. Consumers are also known as heterotrophs. Organisms depend on the producers either directly or indirectly to obtain food or consumers. Consumers can be classified as herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, and parasites. Herbivores. Animals that eat only plants are herbivores. The examples are horse, deer, cow, etc. Carnivores. Animals that eat only other animals are carnivores. Examples are lion, tiger, etc. Omnivores. Animals that eat both plants and animals are omnivores. The examples are human beings, bear, etc. Parasites. Organisms that derive their food from the body of another living organism without killing it are called parasites. For example, cuscuta plant and lice. Another important biotic component of an ecosystem is decomposers. Decomposers, also known as saprophytes. The microorganisms like bacteria and fungi break down the dead remains and waste products of organisms. They break down the complex organic substances into simpler inorganic substances. These inorganic substances go into the soil and are used up once more by the plants. These microorganisms are the decomposers. Importance of decomposers. They help in decomposition of the garbage, dead animals and plants, and hence act as cleaning agents of environment. They break down complex organic substances into simpler inorganic substances. These are the nutrients that are taken up by plants. These nutrients go to the soil and the natural replenishment of the soil takes place. What if the decomposers are absent? That is, in the absence of decomposers. So what will happen to the garbage and dead animals and plants in their absence? In the absence of decomposers, breaking down of complex organic substances present in the garbage, dead animals and plants will not take place. This may cause contamination of soil, water, and air. Will the natural replenishment of the soil take place even if decomposers are not there? In the absence of decomposers, breaking down of complex organic substances present in the garbage, dead animals and plants will not take place. The simpler inorganic substances are the nutrients that go into the soil. Hence, in the absence of decomposers, the natural replenishment of the soil will not take place. Next part of the ecosystem that we are going to consider is food chain. The chain of organisms in which one organism consumes another organism to transfer energy in the form of food is called as food chain. All the food chains begin with producers. A food chain represents unidirectional transfer of energy. Examples: if we consider a food chain in a forest, a simple food chain will look like this. Grass, being a producer, is consumed by a deer, which is a herbivore, which in turn is consumed by a lion, which is a carnivore. A food chain in a grassland might look like this. Grass, which is a producer, is eaten by insect, which is a herbivore, which in turn is eaten by frog, which is a carnivore, which is eaten by a snake, again another carnivore, and snake is eaten by a bird, which is a large carnivore. A food chain can be observed in a pond as well. Aquatic plants, which are the producers, are consumed by insects, which are the herbivores, which in turn are consumed by small fish, which are the carnivores, and these small fishes are consumed by birds, which are the large carnivores. Here we are going to discuss about the importance of components of a food chain, for which we will consider a simpler food chain, that is grass, deer, and lion. Here we will discuss importance of each component like grass, deer, and lion. So if all the lions are removed, lions feed on deers. If lions are removed, number of deers will keep on increasing. Available grass and some plants in the forest will be eaten by deers. This will reduce the number of producers in the forest, which in turn will cause imbalance in the ecosystem. If all the deers are removed, lions feed on deers. Removal of deers will affect lions as food will not be available to them. In such cases, lions may come out of the forest in search of food, causing danger to human civilization. Also, uncontrolled growth of grass may affect other organisms which are part of the ecosystem. This will cause imbalance in the ecosystem. If all the grass is removed, what will happen? Grass belongs to the first trophic level, that is producers. They are producers. Producers are the primary source of food for all the consumers. In the absence of producers, primary consumers like deers will die of hunger. Also, the secondary consumers like lions will not have primary consumers to feed on, and this will disturb the entire ecosystem. Food web and trophic levels. Food web. The network of a large number of food chains existing in an ecosystem is called a food chain. Trophic level. Each step or level of a food chain forms a trophic level. There are 4 trophic levels. There are a great number of individuals at the lower trophic levels of an ecosystem. Hence, the greatest number is of the producers. So the first trophic level is of autotrophs, which fix up solar energy. Second trophic level has herbivores, which are also called as primary consumers. Third trophic level has small carnivores, and they are also referred to as secondary consumers. Fourth trophic level has large carnivores, which are also called as tertiary consumers. Energy transfer through different trophic levels. The autotrophs capture the energy present in the sunlight and convert it into the chemical energy. The green plants in a terrestrial ecosystem capture about 1% of the energy of sunlight that falls on their leaves and convert it into food energy. When green plants are eaten by primary consumers, a great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. Some amount goes into digestion and in doing work, and the rest goes towards growth and reproduction. An average of 10% of the food eaten is turned into its own body and made available for the next level of consumers. Therefore, 10% can be taken as the average value for the amount of organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level of consumers. Since so little energy is available for the next level of consumers, food chains generally consist of only 3 or 4 steps. The loss of energy at each step is so great that very little usable energy remains after 4 trophic levels. We consider this energy transfer through trophic level by means of an example in terms of numbers. Suppose 100,000 joules solar energy is available to a plant. Since plants use 1% of the solar energy obtained by producer is 1% of 100,000 joule. After calculation, we find the value to be 1000 joule. So energy obtained by producers or plants is 1000 joules in this case, whereas remaining energy is lost to the environment, which is 100,000 minus 1000, which is 99,000 joule. Energy obtained by primary consumers, that is herbivores, is equal to 10% of plant energy. Therefore, energy obtained by primary consumers is equal to 10% of 100 joule, 10% of 1000 joule, which is equal to 100 joule. So, rest of the energy is lost to the environment, which is equal to 1000 minus 100, that is 900 joule. Energy obtained by secondary consumers, that is small carnivores, is equal to 10% of primary consumer energy. In this case, energy obtained by secondary consumers is equal to 10% of 100 joule, which is equal to 10 joules. And hence, energy lost to the environment is 90 joules. Energy obtained by tertiary consumers, that is large carnivores, is equal to 10% of secondary consumer energy. Energy obtained by tertiary consumers in this case is 10% of 10 joule, which is 1 joule. And hence, energy lost to the environment is 9 joules. So if we observe the numbers carefully here, we see that maximum amount of energy is transferred from the producers to the primary consumers. Also, maximum energy is lost at the producer level. Biological magnification. We have already studied about pollution of soil, water, and air in earlier classes. Here we are going to discuss about pollution of soil and water and its effects. Pollution of soil and water. Several pesticides and other chemicals are used to protect our crops from diseases and pests. These chemicals are either washed down into the soil or into the water bodies, causing pollution. Biological magnification. Some of the harmful chemicals enter our body through the food chain. They are absorbed by the plants along with water and minerals from the soil, or they are taken up by aquatic plants and animals from the water bodies. As these chemicals are not degradable, they get accumulated progressively at each trophic level. As human beings occupy the top level in any food chain, the maximum concentration of these chemicals get accumulated in our bodies. This phenomenon is known as biological magnification. This is the reason why our food grains such as wheat and rice, vegetables and fruits, and even meat contain varying amounts of pesticide residues. They cannot always be removed by washing or other means. As up till now, we have discussed mostly about the ecosystem and its components. Now we are going to discuss a couple of environmental problems. So first of the environmental problems is ozone layer depletion. So what is ozone layer? Ozone, that is O3, is a molecule formed by 3 atoms of oxygen. Ozone is a deadly poison. So function of ozone, at the higher levels of the atmosphere, ozone shields the surface of the earth from ultraviolet UV radiation from the sun. This radiation is highly damaging to organisms. For example, it is known to cause skin cancer in human beings. Formation of ozone. UV radiation acts on oxygen, that is O2 molecule, to produce O3. The higher energy UV radiations split apart some molecular oxygen into free oxygen or O atoms. These atoms then combine with the molecular oxygen to form ozone. That is, O2 split due to the higher energy UV radiation into O plus O, that is 2 O atoms, oxygen atoms. Then a single oxygen atom combines with the molecular oxygen, thereby giving us the O3 or ozone molecule. Ozone layer depletion. The amount of ozone in the atmosphere began to drop sharply in the 1980s. It is said to be caused due to synthetic chemicals like chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs, which are used as refrigerants and in fire extinguishers. Corrective measure for the same. In 1987, the United Nations Environment Programme, that is UNEP, succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 levels. It is now mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to make CFC-free refrigerators throughout the world. Now we come to the next environmental problem, that is waste disposal. So waste generated in our houses it can be classified as kitchen waste or other waste. So kitchen waste comprises of spoiled food, vegetable peels, used tea leaves, etc. Other waste has milk packets and empty cartons, waste paper, empty medicine bottles, strips, bubble packs, old and torn clothes, and broken footwear. Substances that can be broken down by biological processes are said to be biodegradable. Action of bacteria or other saprophytes involve breaking down of substances by specific enzymes. Substances that are not broken down in this manner are said to be non-biodegradable. These substances may be inert and simply persist in the environment for a long time or may harm the various members of the ecosystem. Many man-made substances like plastics cannot be broken down by bacteria or saprophytes. Public awareness will help in reducing non-biodegradable waste. With this, we come to the end of the chapter or the revision of this chapter. I hope this revision is helpful to all of you. All the best, do well. We'll definitely meet in the next video with revision of another chapter of science. Thank you.